Hispanic Patriot Podcast, a weekly podcast broadcast live from a secret, undisclosed location in the heart of Colorado, which is celebrating the victory of Donald J. Trump. Here we speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us God. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Nicholas Razzo. This is our fearless patron, Hugo Chavez Rey, and we are the Hispanic Patriots. Welcome to the Hispanic Patriot Podcast.
All right, welcome everyone. Happy days are here again. We had one heck of an election. What a night, folks. I mean, I didn't get to bed till 3 o'clock in the morning.
I didn't till 4. I beat you.
And we were in a blizzard, driving back and forth, and nothing was going to deter us from attending this great gathering that we had last night at a fellow Republican's home in Colorado Springs. And it was a time of camaraderie. Got to see people I hadn't seen in a while, and got to meet some that been friends on Facebook, but we hadn't met in person. But now we have. So the message is growing, the image is growing, and we're thankful for that.
Absolutely. And if I might say one thing, Hugo, one thing that we're doing really well, El Paso County Republicans and Republicans in Denver are working closer together than ever before. Republicans in this state, regardless of anything you hear, are more united than ever, and Trump's victory will continue that trend. You will see that. Mark my words.
Well, that's good news. We want to create coalitions wherever we go. We've got a lot to disseminate tonight.
Yeah.
But before we get started, I just want to take a moment to give the glory where it's due, and that is to Almighty God, because He delivered us. I'm Catholic, so in Mass I have been, when you say the Lord's Prayer, and at the end of the Lord's Prayer it says, deliver us from evil, I have been substituting Kamala in there.
Well, evil is bad, Que mala.
My wife kept looking at me every time I did it. Deliver us from Kamala. So it worked.
Praise God.
God heard our prayer. He has delivered us. He has delivered President Trump, back to his rightful place in the White House. And the changes are going to come fast and furious, folks. We're taking the time to enjoy the victory right now, but there's work to be done from the campaign, as the transition has already begun. And Kamala Harris gave her concession speech this afternoon in front of a crowd at Howard University. And it was very interesting because as I was watching it and they kept panning around the audience, all I could see were young people, and they were all in that 18 to 24 range, with the exception of the other adults that were around the stage. And the look on Tim Walz's face, that was something else. He had this big old scowl on his face. He looked like he was going to break out into tears.
Well, would you expect him to be happy about the fact that they lost and they're about to get, found
they
out?
They didn't just lose; they got pounded. This is a landslide.
And all fronts too. That's what we have to remember, people. It's not just that Donald Trump has taken the victory. It's that now it is, by all accounts, by all looks of it, we have a Republican House, Senate, Supreme Court, and presidency. I mean, I don't even remember the last time that happened personally in my lifetime. I should state also, with leadership in all of those areas that align, because before Trump had a lot of support with the House and the Senate, but it wasn't strong Republicans. Yep. It wasn't people who would take the fight where it needed to go, and we got that now.
And something that she did her speech, and it was, she was saying, Um, just because we lost doesn't mean we stop fighting. Yeah, it does.
It
You're
does. Yeah,
done.
like that's what
You're
it
done.
means
Go back
exactly.
home. Nobody wants to hear from you again, and definitely don't want to hear you cackle. Uh, but there was an interview they did, or a little brief interview. They polled Hillary Clinton and asked her about what she thought about the loss for
Oh, just who
Kamala
we need
and
to hear
Tim.
from.
This is what her response was.
Understandable.
That's all they could get out of her.
My goodness. But who I want to know who is feeling about this election. Who I need to know the feelings of in this election is a guy named Joe Biden. I want to know what Joe Biden. How many champagne bottles has that family cracked open since
Oh my
yesterday?
God! I can imagine the party in the um, president's residence at the White House. And then I was listening to Clay and Buck earlier, and they said, "How awkward is it going to be now that Joe Biden is going to have to host President-elect Donald Trump into the White House before the inauguration?" Because that's a tradition. The outgoing president hosts the incoming president. So can you imagine the tension that's going to be in that room?
Well, it depends if Kamala's in the room. You know what I mean? If she's not in the
Oh
room,
my
then they can
God,
just relax and have fun and talk about what happened.
I cannot imagine that meeting taking place. But oh well, it is what it is. We have a president elect, and what I was most happy about last night is that we got to find out last night
Yes,
because
we did,
I
right?
had this feeling that it was going to be that way. A lot of people thought, no, we're not going to know anything last night. It's going to drag on for days,
Oh.
maybe weeks.
Well, I mean, it
Yeah.
was precedent, right, from last time, but it's like, no, we especially, I think the early voting really helped with that. But beyond that, you didn't have what? Because Hugo, I think we didn't touch on this in the pre-show, but saw a lot less turnout in this election, didn't we? What was it? Something like 15, 11. So, there was millions of votes less than last election. I wonder what that says about the legitimacy, the possible legitimacy, especially of these mail-in ballots that flooded the election cycle last
No,
time.
President Trump is going to exceed his last vote count from
He is.
2020, but the Democrat count is down like 14, 15 million.
Thank you for
And,
that's what I meant to say.
and
And
that's
what does that mean, Hugo? What does that
Well, what
mean?
that means is Joe Biden didn't get 81 million votes. That's what that means.
And we
Okay?
acknowledge that some of those, many millions of those might just be Democrats who didn't want to vote for Kamala, but there is no way that all of them are. Not
Yeah.
there's we this is
The,
fishy. They've proven quite a lot.
the increase, and this is interesting because the increase in the vote um, has to be a percentage of that has to be coming from Democrats that did not want to vote for Biden or Harris, and people that were disenfranchised in this process. The what we shall we say the blue dog Democrats, the old
Oh
school
yeah,
Democrats that
the forgotten
that
Democrats.
didn't want to be didn't want to be categorized as a Democrat in this Marxist party now that it's been taken over by the Marxists. And there's no question about it. But
Well,
here
who
are
would
some of
want
the
to? Yeah.
numbers from 2020. Here are some of Trump's gains in the demographics. Women, he was up +2. Men +3. Uh, Non-college educated +6. Hispanic +6. Black +7. Young voters +10.
Nice.
So that's the breakdown. That's where your landslide is coming from. And they're not done counting yet. I'm hoping right now. The last I looked, President Trump was hovering a little above 40% with Hispanic voters
Yes.
nationwide. Um,
And if you look at especially Hispanic men, if you look at men out of that category, Hispanic men, I think the shift is something like, I could be wrong, but I think it was something about 12% or so. It's a very large percent. Careful there, Hugo. That's why this is Hugo. This is why you don't put tequila, celebratory tequila in your canteen.
I wish. No.
Right? But no, I mean that's
So
huge.
my iced tea went down my beer pipe.
But no, I had family that was very proud and happy, saying, you know what, we feel we really made a change in the Latino Hispanic community. That we feel that we helped Donald Trump. People don't talk about this. Thank you. People don't talk about this. That
We're
their
losing your volume there, bro.
my apologies. Are we good here?
No,
One second, folks.
you got your volume way down. You need to figure that out.
No problem. No problem. How we doing here?
That's better. But,
There we go. There we go. So, the huge increase with black men and Hispanic men is creating a lot of pride because we know that we've helped contribute to this victory, and it means that we have a larger part of the Republican Party. I had a lot of friends and family who were expressing that to me today.
yeah, well, it's it's a movement right now.
It
I
is.
firmly believe that we're headed in the right direction. Everybody was on some of the channels. We're talking today about where does the Republican Party go from here? This is Trump's last term. Who's he going to hand it off to? Blah blah blah. Now, unlike other people, I don't believe that he's going anywhere after he finishes his term. He'll be involved, maybe more behind the scenes,
Oh yeah.
but at the same time, in the next 4 years, I believe the Republican Party is going to be grooming the next presidential candidate. And there are several good ones, so it remains to be seen how things shake out. For example, DeSantis has 2 years left on his gubernatorial term, so he's likely to be a candidate after his term as governor. He'll be termed out anyway, so that'll be in 2 years. Now here in nationwide, you've got some other potential candidates. Obviously, J.D. Vance is going to have to be considered. He's going to be the vice president. So technically, the vice president succeeds the president, but that's not always the case. But unless he does something, really weird, I can't see him not being the front runner for 28 because based on the fact that he is going to be the vice president now for 4 years. So he's going to be working towards that next cycle, and I believe that he'll be able to garner that. But primary in 28 is definitely going to be interesting. We'll see if J.D. Vance is strong enough, then there may not even be a challenge to him. But the fact that
I
he,
I
the
think they
fact that
definitely will be. Sorry, go
yeah,
right ahead.
I think the fact that he is the vice president, they are going to. Now, if there's usually not a challenge to an incumbent president if he's moving forward. But vice president, yes, I do believe there'll be a field. It'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. So we've got, we've got some races nationwide that have not been completed yet. We're waiting on Arizona and Nevada to finish their finger counting.
Come on, guys. We know you can do it. We know you can do it.
But, it just boggles the mind. I mean, Florida closed their polls, and within an hour and a half,
They were done.
they were done. Their results were in, confirmed, and they were moving on. And a lot of other states as well. But here we have Nevada and Arizona sitting there still counting almost 24 hours after the polls closed. So it's, I don't understand that. I really don't. There has to be something done about that because this can't continue to go on with states that are incompetent because I call that incompetence. That's just, there's absolutely no reason why one state with far greater population can complete the process in a short period of time, and the others with far less population, they're sitting there still twiddling their thumbs 24 hours later. It doesn't make any sense to me. So we'll
And
see.
it leaves it open to fraud, as we've seen before in Arizona. So we want to see that tightening up in the future. We definitely do.
Well, it's all about Maricopa County. If you
But it's
if you
always one central county, in states that are sort of the base of the voter fraud. In Illinois, it's Chicago, and New York, it's New York City. Everyone has their cheating county that they sort of funnel things through. But
well,
Donald Trump is going to have a lot to do on election integrity. He
yep.
definitely is, and we
Oh
will be
yeah,
seeing
you can bet that's on the agenda.
that.
I think that the the process with which he's going to enter office is going to be interesting.
Oh, definitely.
I heard someone say that the Venezuelan gangs were scurrying for cover,
As they should.
and they better be running. They better be hiding.
Back home to mama there.
They
Back home
better
to mama.
be crossing the border in the other direction if they know what's good for them. So,
Man, andale pues, man. It's like, because, we Hispanics, whose community do you think these people come into first? They speak Spanish.
yep.
They are Hispanic. Therefore, they look Hispanic. So, gee, I wonder what population suffers the most. And we
Well,
showed it with our vote this
the
year.
Tren de Aragua is going to get run over by the Trump train. Tren de Trump.
I think the only agua they'll be trailing is from their pant legs. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's going to be really good to watch the uh, the process go into action because I guarantee you they've already been working on this for a while. That's not they're just not just now starting. There's a there is a task force that has been formed, and they have a game plan, and I believe uh, it's going to be implemented from day one. He's
I
gonna
agree.
he's
No, they've
gonna
been waiting
loose
for this.
January 20th. He's gonna loose the hounds.
And we definitely can't wait for that here on Hispanic Patriot. We can tell you that.
Absolutely. So, what other takeaways do you have from last night? What was something that you thought was interesting and something that you thought was odd?
Well, something
Any,
that I really thought was odd was the fact that Kamala Harris didn't win Iowa like they said that she was going to. I mean, man, they said what she was up. I think they just reversed the numbers. That must have been what it was. They saw the numbers. They thought it was for Trump. They just got Kamala and Trump mixed up. That must be what it is.
well,
But
did you know? I don't know if you know. You weren't down. You weren't
I
downstairs
wasn't with you guys in
for
the El Paso
for
County headquarters at the time.
for the early part.
But
We
I
were
heard you guys
watching.
cheering about it.
We were watching RSBN, and they would flash up numbers from Trump and Harris, and like they would one of them they I forget which one it was. They showed the vote count underneath each candidate, but the percentage was backwards. So Trump had more votes than Kamala in this one category, and they showed Kamala with like 30 point something percent and Trump at 27%. You know, I said somebody's using Common Core math there. I mean, how do you get a lower percentage when you've got a higher number of votes? And then they were having that problem with several. One of them they flashed up 90% reporting, and then like 30 seconds later it was 34% reporting.
It's like an auctioneer correcting himself. You know what I mean? Like,
I,
but
I,
but one
I
of the interesting things I thought honestly was the fact that Trump won the popular vote. that was absolutely amazing to me, because what I think that has coming from is the fact that Republicans in blue states no longer feel like they shouldn't vote.
Yep.
That is huge. That's going to be huge, and we're going to be seeing it as races come in. That's going to be huge down ballot in the future.
Well,
The idea that nothing is useless.
you know what was happening there is Rasmussen that I've been watching for the probably the last month or so. They were giving out weekly reports, and they started to say that there was likely Trump would not only win the electoral college but win the popular vote. And they said that alone was indicative of how this race was going, because typically the Democrats win the popular vote, Republicans win the electoral college. But this time they were showing the trend, and it was trending for Trump on the popular vote, and that's when the Democrats really started to get concerned. And but it was too late. I mean, there was nothing they could do. The horse was out of the barn by then,
No,
and
it was, and they ran the wrong horse for the wrong race. Honestly, I
oh
had also
yeah,
had liberal friends. I had a lot of liberal friends also that I talked to, and they said that a big theme I noticed from them was that they believed that this was a wrong strategy from the beginning. That the game was
yeah.
kind of rigged from the start, because they made the wrong decision bucking Joe how they did, and they made the wrong decision trotting her out as it. They had good maybe candidates, but nobody with the kind of star power she had. But
But
like you said, young people made a huge difference. But please go right ahead.
I was going to say the only way they could have run another candidate really for primary would have been if they primaried Joe back during the primary.
Right,
And if they didn't want to pull the plug back then for some reason, but
indecisiveness kills again.
well, I mean, what happened with the Democrats is basically they imploded.
Yeah,
Um,
they really did.
Joe kept deteriorating, and the last straw was the debate with Trump. And by then, it was too late. That was 6 weeks before their convention,
Yep.
um, and they basically, the word on the street is they basically went to him and threatened him, and
They forced the issue, and
well,
that
they,
that's
they they
that's the thing
threatened
right
him with
there.
his legacy. That's what it was. They,
Well,
they
now at
told
least
him,
his legacy's secure now.
oh,
In his
but
mind, if nowhere else.
but I got as stubborn and proud as Joe is. I have to believe that really chapped him when they made him do that,
Oh yeah.
and the way they did it, he felt slighted, and he was hell bent on getting his revenge, and you could tell from his activities that he was determined to derail her candidacy because he wanted her to lose big time,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
and now that she's lost in a landslide, you watch what comes out of Joe's mouth.
I
Uh,
can't wait to see what comes out of Joe's mouth after this. I mean, I really do. I mean, but
nobody
this is a
nobody
goes
has
to
seen or
show.
heard from him.
I mean, I wouldn't be seen or heard from either if I was celebrating that hard. To be honest, I'd at least give it a few days. But
There,
there's one funny thing about this, and one very dangerous thing. Funny thing is the Democrats learned very, very a hard lesson. You need to do your business or get off the pot, but don't get off the pot while you're doing your business, because you just end up, like you said, imploding. And that's how I feel, is that they change strategies halfway through when they absolutely should not have.
that's
That's
right.
that's really what I see. But here's a dangerous. I have to give a little bit of a black pill, unfortunately. Here we're very celebrating and we're happy and we should be. But the next 2 months are gonna be dangerous for America, because we have a president who's on vacation and a vice president who's, let's be honest, probably emotionally very hurt right now. So we have two weak people running our executive for the next 2 months. So
Yep.
we got to be diligent. Everybody in the military and the State Department, everybody who's got heads on their shoulders, please keep the ship afloat until the new captain takes over, because that is a
Well,
little scary to me.
I read an article, and I think it was either the Wall Street Journal or the Washington Post, and the article said that Kamala might step in as president anyway using the 25th Amendment.
That's what I heard as well.
And so she would be president for like 2 months or something like that. And then she could
See, we
say,
did have a president. We did have a female
we
president.
had a female
Now
president.
we never have to elect one ever again. How do you like them apples? No,
So
please don't do that.
that's gonna be real interesting to watch.
I don't
I don't
want them to do that. I
I
really
don't
don't want them
think they
to.
would do that, but you never know with these
Joe Biden
people.
would go, hell no, no, this is mine. This is mine right here.
Yeah, it reminds
We'll
me of
have to see though.
reminds me of the Lord of the Rings and go
Oh,
oh, mine.
oh yeah, shout out to our good friend Raymond Garcia who makes the point. Joe Biden might do that solely to mess up Donald Trump's 47 merch. Why?
Well,
Why? But will Joe Biden make a thing like that to cost Joe Biden to cost Donald Trump money? We'll see if Joe Biden's that petty or is he just satisfied with Kamala Harris's total defeat in front of everybody, in front of Coward University. I'm sorry, Howard University.
yeah, Howard the Coward.
Howard, I don't know who Howard is, but we do appreciate you. We're not making fun of you, but no, this is something really impressive, Hugo. Because as a young person, I am seeing the shift in my generation towards more, if not right-wing thinking, Republican thinking, at least by non-partisan thinking in a hateful, vitriolic way. Nobody really of my generation wants to be that anymore, unless they're already the kind of, I don't mean to insult anybody, but kind of the blue-haired freaks, stereotype of the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
These people are actually, in my opinion, a dying breed because they're getting older and less relevant. And let's be honest, if your culture and aesthetic revolves around being kind of cutesy and new and everything, you're gonna get old fast. Like like hipster fashion. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah,
you wear out your welcome too much. Your culture will show that pretty good if all you're about is whining and killing babies.
absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about Colorado.
Absolutely.
And let's take a look at the map. That
I know a
that
lot of folks are disappointed in Colorado results right now, but I don't think they were the worst they could have been, and I think they're going to be teachers for what we need to do in the future. But let's go over it.
Yep. So if you look at the state, it looks like it's pretty well consolidated. The blue is surrounded by red. Some of the larger counties like Jefferson, right here, or Summit. This is Jefferson, and then you go over to Gilpin and Clear Creek, and then there's a corridor of blue that goes all the way to the state line.
Indeed.
And then to the south, you see the Central Mountains, like Gunnison, and these are counties that used to be red, but there's been a lot of influx of Californians buying up mountain properties out there.
Yes, it is quite unfortunate, people, and this we, as you all know, we oppose Marxism, we oppose class conflict, but there is a problem when rich Democrats go into red areas that are very nice and serene and make little Democrat communities and then kind of colonize the area. We want people to respect where they move to than the people that have built such a beautiful place before them. You think Democrats would appreciate that with how much they
Yeah.
pretend to care about Native Americans?
But it occurred to me, if push ever came to shove, what if we split up Colorado? Look at all of this to the right over here, and all
Left
the way,
wing Colorado and right wing Colorado,
and all the way
right
up to
there.
this could be a whole state right here.
Maybe we should just ask Nebraska to annex the territory. You know what I mean? But no, you know what? Hey,
Well, we got
California's
Kansas over
you know?
here and Nebraska up here.
There you go. But like you said, we actually met some Californians at the get together we went to, and they said the same thing. We wish we could make the state of Jefferson happen. As you
Yeah.
know, the idea that California should be split into two states, North and South, because North California is actually very conservative. Which shout out to our old producer Peter, who has marched back into the lion's den of California. Thank you very much for what you're doing over there. We will be doing the same here in Colorado because it's true. The elections in Colorado are still very, what do we call it? Let's call it fortified. We'll call it fortified for the Democrats. We can say rigged, maybe even. We can even say this. The game is rigged for several reasons, and part of that is our Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold.
Yep.
Part of what you're seeing on this map right here is the Griswold works. That is partly what you are seeing here, especially in Denver. Like we said, there's one place in every state where this filtering happens. You guys can see this.
Yeah, and places like Adams County here, that used to be pretty red. Arapahoe used to be red,
Yeah.
and Jefferson used to be red. The only one that's remained blue was Denver, which is right in the middle of all of it.
And 80-20, my goodness. It's amazing how Democrats want diversity, but only seem to live amongst each other.
Hmm. And then if you go, if you start going west out Clear Creek and Summit, Eagle, it doesn't make sense to me how these people, but in these counties, Eagle County, of course, has Aspen um, and what's
Yeah,
the
the rich mountain dwellers up there.
yeah the well what is the town over there? What's the other ski resort out there? You got Aspen and
Vale, I think.
Vale.
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah.
was thinking about. Vale. Those
Pale,
are
beyond the pale, voting for
yeah.
Kamala.
Vale beyond the pale. Yeah. And Pitkin. Look how blue Pitkin is.
But it's
Uh,
interesting. You were noting in the pre-show that that the Hispanic named counties and a lot of places where Hispanics are moving to, especially,
yep.
are more red. It's
And
interesting. Even Pueblo has stayed red.
it starts over here. You got Mesa. You got Montrose.
Montrose.
And then San Miguel kind of
That's the bluest.
sandwiched itself in here, but then you go to Dolores, Montezuma, Hinsdale, Mineral, Archuleta,
Uh,
Conejos, Rio Grande, and Alamosa, and then over to Huérfano, Las Animas, Pueblo.
Thank
Now,
you for all the Pueblo Republicans. Big
I,
shout out to the Pueblo Republicans from
yes,
Hispanic Patriot.
they've done a good job out there of turning that area red
We,
because
we got to learn from them.
that used to be a very blue area. But they've gotten tired. You got a tarot, but everything out here on the east side of the state is solid red,
Right wing Colorado, if you will.
and it butts up against Oklahoma and a little bit of Texas down here.
But that's
So
the two kinds of Coloradans that you really find. The native Coloradans are much more like the Front Range and the right side of the state. And the people in the mountains of the native Coloradans that you'll meet in the mountains, they are being overrun by, and I was talking to some Republicans on the West Slope as well, that yes, many Californians and other Democratic peoples are moving to Western Colorado. This is something we are going to have. And Hugo, and you know this too, we have lost friends who have decided to move, not lost friends, I shouldn't say that, but they've moved out of the state. A
oh
lot of
yeah,
conservatives have been moving out of the state. And so when you get conservatives moving out and liberals moving in, you unfortunately have a worsening of this kind of situation. This is why we got to grit our teeth. We have to convince Democrats. We have to convince Democrats that their home is not the Democrat Party and that it is in the Republican Party, because we have the liberals here whether we like them or not. And it's going to be tough, but this is the only way that we swing our blue states back to what they should be.
well, here's another interesting point. Look at the map and look at the red counties. Okay, the very strong red counties, all up and down the east coast, east side of the state. And look at how many, in comparison, the Democrats have. They only have one, two, three, four.
Right,
What
to
what
the counties that are
what they
solidly
would
blue.
consider strong blue counties. All the rest are kind of lean. You know, if you look at them,
Absolutely. No,
they're
and
in they're in the 50 to 60%. So that means that these are convertible for sure.
they are, but we should also keep in mind the low populations of many of the solid red. But I don't want to discount that, because what that shows is difference in lifestyle. In Colorado, we have the kind of liberal urban people who kind of just want to come here, relax, have good jobs. But the rural people who work this hard land and raise the tastiest beef and makes the best base for cheese. We've been told before, Colorado exports more cheese product to Wisconsin to be made into finished cheese products.
Yeah.
So we have amazing rural people who have cultivated this land literally from nothing, literally from arid land and mountainous land. And so these two groups live two entirely different lives. And I really wish the liberal urban people could be brought out to the land to see exactly what their policies would be doing. Thank God that some of the ballot initiatives that would have hurt rural people failed. But liberals need to see more of the land. There should be a back to the land or something program in school where we send some of these urban kids to look at what ranching and farming is like. It's not a punishment to learn these beautiful skills, because these are your fellow citizens. You can't just make policies for urban liberal elites, and that's really what we're doing here, but
Yep.
not for long.
But I think you know Castilla is surrounded by red,
Indeed.
and so they should be a target. They're only at 56%, and you had people. You know, Trump got 817 votes, and Kamala got 1132.
Well, and that's kind of goes to what I was saying, though, is that we have 2,000 votes in that area, whereas if we look at somewhere like El Paso County, we have hundreds of thousands of votes. Whether we like it or not, unfortunately, and we are going to have to march into the urban areas that have been settled by the Democrats, because I think you also know, Hugo, that El Paso County, we're happy to have delivered a very steady and very, very strong victory for Trump, but the margins have been decreasing in El Paso County over time, as we have more people, more liberals move to our wonderful, wonderful city that we've worked really hard to keep this way. Um, no, so we need to think about offensive, defensive. We are wanting to hold the counties we have, but we also look at what Trump did in New York and New Jersey. He had them sweating in where they thought was safe. That's what we need to do as Republicans. We need
Oh, yeah.
Democrats sweat electorally where they think it's safe.
He did. He did very well up in New York compared to past elections. So
Absolutely. And it's
uh,
personality driven, I think. I think it's personality driven because we see other people, I want to give a shout out to friend of the channel, Peter Bodie, who did pretty good, honestly, for a very blue area that he was in. I believe that was the 28th district, when it was losing with 47%, but only about 3,000 votes or so. That's really impressive for an area in Jefferson which is becoming bluer, and where, we are facing difficulties as Republicans. We are becoming crushed economically under Biden more than I think the liberal urban elites. So the fact that we raised as much money as we did and got our candidates in difficult areas as good as they did, this is encouraging to me. This is very encouraging to me. I'm not despondent by the Colorado results. Not happy with them, but I don't think this is a death sentence for the Colorado Republicans. Not even a little bit.
well,
This should be inspiring.
we have to keep going after the Hispanic vote. I mean,
Yes, that was key. And we
that's
didn't see that in Colorado. We saw it in other states. Shout out to Scott Pressler. Scott Pressler, the persistence, was focusing on Hispanics in Pennsylvania. Hugo, you know that Hispanics now occupy huge numbers in every major United States city now. So
yep.
you are winning swing states when you look at the Hispanic vote. But here in Colorado, where the name came from a Spanish name, where we have more Hispanic people coming in every year, we didn't focus on that voting demographic. I think we need to wake up. We need to wake up, especially for these new elections coming up. Hispanic vote's key here. Needs to
Oh,
become more key.
absolutely. I think going forward, that is the strategy, and that should be the strategy. So
Yes.
we're now going to be starting to focus on the state hierarchy in the Republican Party. We've got
Yes.
a meeting in March, so right after Christmas and New Year's, everything starts rolling.
And fast.
Some of the people have already started talking about it, and you know some of these people that were in the crowd of trying to oust Dave Williams think that they're going to.
Those lovely people.
Oh yeah, well, there's an investigation going on right now that a lot of people aren't aware of, that the state party has launched, and there could be some actions taken against certain individuals for having done what they did, because that they want to talk about a coup. That was a real coup.
I mean, let's be honest. I want to be very clear. We had a chance at various time in the polling to make Colorado's races much tighter than they were. We were actually a battleground state by all polls and all measures for several weeks, if not months. And this coup did it in. Did that effort in. I'm going to tell you right now. And while we will be willing to maybe forgive if there is repentance, we cannot forget this. This could have been one of the greatest swings in Colorado history, and they blew it for us. I'm going to say it right there. They did.
Yeah, so it's gonna be something that comes to the forefront right after the holidays. I firmly believe that, because right after New Year's, then we got about maybe 2.5 months. And February is a short month anyway, so it's going to be interesting to see who steps up. I have no idea at this moment who is or isn't considering running for chairman. I don't know if Dave wants to run again. If I was him, I probably wouldn't, because the way he's been treated. So why
That's
would
what I also heard quite a
and
lot.
and
But
he's
I
got
believe he would if he felt he needed to, especially if there was no better choice. So that is something that we can be sure of.
yeah, and if you want to protect the integrity of the party, you're going to have to make sure that the parties that tried to perpetrate this coup are going to be held accountable. Uh,
Absolutely.
and to me, being held accountable just means that they shouldn't be allowed to participate. Maybe not permanently, but at least for a couple of cycles,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
so that they understand that there are consequences for taking such actions.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna lead, you have to learn how to follow first. That's fundamental. And these guys need to learn. They proved they were incapable of leadership. Now they need to prove they're capable of following, because that's what they failed to do.
And the sad thing, though, is that there was a process in place. Had they followed that process, none of this would have been contentious, because
Yes.
it's in our bylaws. And if the process had been followed properly, then nobody would have objected, to at least having the process.
Absolutely.
That's why we have it in the bylaws. But
Exactly.
to ignore the process and then try to convince people that you did follow the process, that makes it even more heinous.
Right.
Yeah.
That's lies on top of lies, and we can't be having that.
Yep.
But
And
we do have a lot of positive news at least. But please go right ahead.
yep. So that's just something I wanted to lay out there, because I already saw it on social media. A couple people posting on it, and And I said, "My God, we just won one of the biggest
And this
victories,
is all you can think of?
and
Man, you guys really
this
are
is the
never Trump.
first thing you want to talk about? Give me a break. Let's enjoy this victory, big victory, huge victory,
National
best
paving
victory ever.
victory. The greatest victory ever. The
It's the
greatest
best.
electoral victory in the
It was the
history
most
of
it was the
electoral.
most election in history.
Our victory was huge. The margin of victory was huge. But we want to give also some credence and time to our own local House members because we've interviewed several of them
Yep.
actually. So Lauren Boebert, of course, won
What do you
her
got?
race.
What do we got on so far on some of the candidates? Let's run down some of those.
Absolutely, right here. Let me see if I can share this real quick. I've got so many tabs up here right now for so many pieces of data. All right. So what I have right here is from NPR, and we have the key House races that they also have the ballot measures right here.
I'm not seeing
Right.
the screen.
My apologies. My apologies. I shared it. I don't know if you have to take it back from off screen.
Now make sure that. Hold on.
You're okay. You're okay.
Here we go.
There it
Okay.
is. So where we are, the House members now. Unfortunately, we do have to give a little sad news for our Valdemar Archuleta, one of our people that we did interview with. It just shows that Denver has a lot of difficulties and things we do need to work on. Joe
But
Neguse,
you know,
the goose.
Varchuleta got 50,000 votes. That's not shabby.
That's amazing for someone breaking into politics. I mean, and in a blue area. Think about how blue that area is.
Yeah,
Like that is
and
a
underfunded
shakeup.
to boot. Yeah.
Yeah, with nothing. I mean, let's be honest. So big shout out to Valdemar. You worked really hard.
Yep.
Um, you know, democracy is not just built on victories. It's built on learning from the attempts. So here we have two good news is Jeff Hurd and Lauren Boebert. Of course, we all know Lauren was going to get in there. We all never lost faith in her. But
They
Adam
haven't
Fritsch, unhappy Adam Fritsch.
they haven't called that one yet.
No, not yet. But look at it, folks. We got
Yeah.
a 5 points with 12 points left to go in reporting.
You know
I've got
that race was won by a little over 500 votes the last time around,
exactly. So look, so we
and
have
he's
movement.
up 12,000.
That's good news in our book right there.
Yeah.
That's amazing
I
news,
want to know who these other candidates are with 11,750.
right?
Who'd they put in there? Donald Duck and Goofy or what?
I would have definitely gone for Captain Ahab myself, but somebody who's used to catching. Well, I won't go. I won't make a border joke right now. That's a little tasteless, but But we got Jeff Crank and another interviewee that we had, John Fabricatori, who
Oh my
again
God.
completely underfunded and yet worked so hard. But I will say this: Democrats do like Jason Crow. I've actually met Jason Crow several times, working on several Ukrainian things. He has he's polite enough. He's got the smile. He's a good politician. He was not the hardest nut to crack, especially he's not too linked in with the Democrat establishment anymore ever since Joe Biden kind of read him the riot act. If anyone wants to see Lauren Boebert's speech at the RNC that we filmed, he kind of had a falling out with Joe Biden. You'll just say that. So Jason Crow was not as on the outs as other Democrats. So, but
Yeah,
big
that's
shout out to John for his attempt.
yeah. I was
Big.
hoping you'd do better than that. But
It's Denver, man. Denver is
no, that's
sad.
Aurora.
It's Aurora. My apologies. You folks in okay. So here's the secret about you guys in Denver. All right, from Chicago, you could be from the outskirts of Chicago. You're from like the middle, like a suburb of Chicago, not even, and you're from Chicago. But here, nobody wants to be from Denver. I notice. I'm from Aurora. I'm from Longmont. I'm not even from Denver. F you basically. I'm like, okay, man. I didn't know it was such a
Yeah.
terrible place to be from. So shout out to everybody that I ever said you're from Denver and you're from somewhere else. You're not from Denver and we love you. So, but
Yep.
yes, from Aurora, Denver metropolitan area or whatever the organization is. That's why I say we got to get into the urban areas. We got to make urban Republicans. We really, really have to. But we'll continue down here. We have Sergei Matviuk, one of my favorites, is a fellow Polish American. I didn't know anyone who really knew about him though, and this is how well he did anyways. Very
Yeah,
impressive.
that's can't believe Brittany Pedersen. She is horrible.
Yeah, it's yeah, but I thought they liked immigrants. I guess if we're certain kinds of immigrants, they don't like us very much. The Democrats
Yeah.
do. Kind of shows that. But Gabe Evans' race still too close to call. Too
Yep.
close to call. He is down by only 1 point. But the votes are swinging all kinds of ways. We got to see how it turns out. So another person that we interviewed, it'd be nice if one person we interviewed won their race, besides Lauren Boebert, of course.
So it looks like it got updated about 5:41 p.m. tonight. 80% of the votes in, so there's still 20% out.
Yeah.
So he's got a shot. I hope he can overcome that 1 point there,
It'd be a nice upset and very well deserved.
because it looks like they're about, let's see,
About less than
but
3,000. Less than 3,000. 3,800
yeah,
about.
yeah, 2,800. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
yep. That's not too shabby.
In a brand new district too. I
Yep.
mean, this was totally uncharted waters. You have to understand, people. The first election of a new district really sets the tone for that district, and a lot of people thought this was going to start out as a very blue district, and it's not. So
But
that's
this is
great.
the second election in this district.
Thank you for the correction, Hugo. Thank you
Yeah,
very much. Thank you very much.
this Yadira won the first one, and now Gabe trying to put it in the correct column, because that area should be Republican.
On the march
So
too, definitely. But
yeah.
we also probably want to look at the ballot initiatives, I'd imagine, Hugo, don't we? Because
Oh yeah.
we did a whole series on the
Yeah.
ballot
I'm,
initiatives.
I'm the one that the one that really um, disturbs me is the constitutional amendment for '79.
Yes,
But
unfortunately, right here, as
look at
you
it's
can see.
almost it's a 23 points. That's ridiculous that people would vote to do that to our
Like I
constitution.
said, urban liberal mentality. Hugo, I don't know if you know this actually. For most of history, I'm sure you do actually. Most of history, cities were net negative population. Cities didn't grow. They were dirty and crime ridden, and people didn't want to have kids there. I don't think most people want to have kids in Democrat cities for the same reason. They're dirty and they're dangerous. Who'd want to have a kid in that situation? And this is what creates the impetus to have abortion.
Yep.
It's sick. It's saying to my generation, you don't deserve to exist. I will never not oppose this better. This is very sad for Colorado, especially since, okay, you have a right to abortion, right? But not a right to school choice, as you can see here.
And they took they added the tax on the guns and the
Yes,
ammo.
yes. So all of our friends who are working, selling guns and ammo, doing a great job for our country and our state and everything, you have to pay more money for no reason. Our state. It's very very sad. But we do have to give a little bit of a huge. At least there's hope for the future. They did not take away everything. Proposition 131, ranked choice voting, failed.
Yeah.
Failed. No open primary. No open primary. No ranked choice voting. That's what's going on here, and we can at least say the path to make Colorado better is still open,
Yeah.
but it's going to be harder. It's going to be harder, unfortunately. So we also had the police training. So the police will get funded, not defund the police. So another one of Kamala's policies destroyed. Lengthening prisoning times, that passed. The Veterinary Association professionals, that you can all watch that, our series on these, if you want to be reminded on what they were. Hunters, fear not, hunters. You can kill mountain lions if they try to attack your flock, and you don't have to prove that you were trophy hunting it.
Yeah.
Congratulations, our rural folks. At least we were able to give something to you guys. That's great. I mean, not take something away. Actually, the government didn't give you anything. They just didn't take something away. But hey, that's good, right? But yeah, Hugo, do you have any thoughts on the very sad abortion news? Unfortunately,
Just it breaks my heart that people are that cold that that they think that that has to be in the Constitution. That's just indicative of a sick mentality. It's a lot of it is the fear factor, because they
yeah.
believe the arguments that Republicans want to take away your right to kill babies. Oh, well, we better make sure that we can kill babies. That's just sick,
Very
and
much so.
and God has a plan for those folks, unfortunately.
You can't destroy innocent life without the innocence of life coming back to haunt you. It's very true. So we will be monitoring that. If there's anything we can do, of course, you all remember that we did interview pro-life leaders. We will continue to do that, and we'll continue to keep you updated on the pro-life fight in Colorado. Another thing, Amendment J, repealing the ban on same-sex marriage. Another huge liberal strike to our Constitution,
Yeah,
our culture. Um, that was very sad, unfortunately. As a horse aficionado, as you all know, I'm in the thoroughbred horse racing. We unfortunately removed caps on state revenue from sports betting. What
yeah,
this is casinos and big gambling striking down the little guy, the little nickel shops, the racetracks. So unfortunately, a lot of the ballot initiatives here in Colorado, big business won, big government won, the destruction of the innocent has won. Hugo, I actually told you this in the pre-show. Illinois, as a percentage, it's only like 1%, but Illinois is actually at this point more liberal, less liberal rather, than Colorado. The place I moved from. So I'm fired up. I don't know about you. I'm fired up to take this state back because we can't just rely on Trump and the national election to do that. We got to do it right here, right now. That's my opinion, anyways. We got to get to work, and the real work begins.
well, if you look at that KK one, look at the way it's worded. Impose a tax on the sale of firearms and ammunition. It's like they're implying that there's no tax on the sale of firearms and ammunition. So,
Already, yeah,
so that's how they fool people. And oh, well, sure, they should have to pay tax too.
because they
It
don't right now, right? I mean,
it
like,
should
guys,
have
come on.
that should not have been allowed to be worded that way. It should
No,
have said impose an additional tax on
addition.
top of regular sales tax on the sale of firearms and ammunition. And I bet you that would not have passed had it been worded like that.
No, and just like with all other tax-based business, destruction, people are just going to go to other states for their needs because as long as you can get, the guns transferred in, you're totally fine. So it's just absurd. It's
Or
very
you
absurd.
create or you create more of a black market. So
Exactly, and that would be the entirety of the state of Colorado's fault. If anyone wants to know how Chicago got the way it was, oh, it's outside guns. It's the fault of the state with the gun laws. Still, it's still the
mhm.
fault of the state with the gun laws. So, folks, please keep Colorado in your prayers. Again, we had some victories, but they were not acceptable. This is not acceptable to us. We know we can do better, and you will be seeing Colorado turn red with the Hispanic Patriots at the vanguard of the movement to do
Yep,
so.
absolutely. Well, it's just a shame that some of those passed, especially the abortion one. But
Yes.
we'll just continue to pray, and hopefully we can uh, turn that back, or at least limit the number of abortions.
Very much so. Very much so. Well, Hugo, we can't leave this show on this.
Yes.
We can't leave the show on this note. Trump just won. You know, we can't possibly do this. We need something. We need something else, don't we? I
Yes,
think
we
that
do.
maybe some good old fashioned patriotism would do us well, wouldn't it?
Yep, and let's close it out with the national anthem, folks. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in tonight.
Absolutely. God bless America. Early light
What's a lovely at the twilight's last gleaming,
and the nice and bright stars
through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare upon bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave the land of the free and the home of the brave? God bless
God bless
America.
America.
Good night, folks, and thank you for tuning in. We'll see you again next week.
And victory to President Trump. Isn't that wonderful to say? President
Yes, sir.
Trump.
President-elect Trump, yes.